Greetings and welcome to today's discussion on Another Africa is Possible. In this series, we're looking at how African economies and African companies can thrive within this continent and beyond. The last 2 weeks, we have looked at the birth pangs of a new economic order, the fact that there are new emerging thinkings that are helping African businesses and businesses in Africa reimagine what businesses could do and how they could move from profit-driven to purpose-driven businesses and lift up whole economic sectors with them. As Africa has leapfrogged other technologies and taken on and gone beyond what we see in other parts of the world, I personally believe Africa can develop a new economic model by leapfrogging and learning from the lessons of other parts of the world. Today's session, we'll be looking at financial capital's tyranny on other capital. A preoccupation with financial capital is one of the leading causes of poverty in the world. This sounds like an oxymoron. You look at countries, the richest country in Africa per capita is South Africa, and the richest country in the world is the USA. These are the countries with the highest GDPs, yet it's also the countries that have the highest Gini index, the Global Inequality Index. The social fractions are so large. The USA has one of the highest prison populations per capita of any nation in the world, 639 people per 100,000. Social unrest, depletion of natural capital is obvious in these places. How is it that the pursuit of only financial capital has resulted in the diminishing of other forms of capital? See, poverty defined from material terms only is very, very limiting in understanding. When Mother Teresa went to the UN to receive her Nobel Prize for work amongst the poor, she said the spiritual poverty of the Western world is much greater than the physical poverty of our people. You in the West have millions of people who suffer terrible loneliness and emptiness. They feel unloved, unwanted. These people are not only hungry in the physical sense, but they are in another way. They know they need something more than money, yet they don't know what it is. Money alone is not what human beings need. Money is needed, but not money alone. We have discussed in the past how Friedman's model of business was to maximize shareholder profitability. But the emerging model we're looking at is a way in which business leaders manage not just financial capital, but all forms of capital, so that the company creates an environment where its ecosystem causes all people to thrive. And last time we talked about moving from profit-driven businesses to perfect-driven businesses. And the Economics of Mutuality, which was launched in 2020, talks about the purpose of business is to produce profitable solutions to the problems of people and planet, and not profit from producing problems for people and planet. Today's businesses produce problems, while emerging businesses create solutions and create a purpose around creating solutions profitably. How many of you have ever thought of King Solomon's poverty? King Solomon was one of the richest people to ever live on this earth. We see his royal court, his palaces, we see the amount of wealth that he created. Yet, I'd like to put it to you that King Solomon's focus on financial accumulation and material accumulation only resulted in one of the greatest poverties in history. We see King Solomon offering a huge amount of animals as he worships at this magnificent temple which he has built. In the book of 1 Kings, we see 22,000 cattle, 120,000 sheep. This was a truly wealthy man. And indeed, the magnificent temple that Solomon built was so glorious that when it was destroyed in AD 70, Jesus had prophesied that not one stone would be left on another. And this is because the people who destroyed the temple had to melt out the gold that was aligned to the stones and had melted into the stones. And that is why its destruction was so total. The problem is not that businesses that are preoccupied with measurement of financial capital have a wrong, but it's the preoccupation with a short-term financial capital at the expense of all the other capitals. And this is what actually is the problem, is that a preoccupation with only financial capital in the long term leads to poverty. In King Solomon's case, silver was so common, it was as common as stone. Yet, when King Solomon died, his kingdom was divided. Social capital was completely lacking. Human capital was destroyed. Wealth without justice is equal to poverty for all. After Solomon dies, we see his children debating and recognizing that the entire focus of Solomon's life was material accumulation. The social fabric was destroyed, the human capital, slavery, was used, but unfortunately his children learned from their father and choose to once again underplay human and social capital, and the kingdom is divided. Human capital is important in any business and any nation. It puts your employees as your first customers. Employees that believe that management is concerned about them, not just their labor, but the total person, not just their production, but who they are. And in many ventures, human beings come to work not just to give their labor, but they give their lives. Human capital is critical for companies to invest in. Profit in itself is not the problem. It is a gold medal for an athlete. It is a strong motivation to companies to encourage them to overcome great odds and generate resources in ways that would otherwise not take place. But profits become sinful or become destructive when they operate outside of God's will, when they replace intentional, functional relationships, the poverty of relationships. So the pursuit of financial capital on its own leads and results to the diminishing of other capitals. And in the end, everyone becomes poor. The case study of Solomon in the Old Testament is an example. In the book of Ecclesiastes, he repeats one phrase again and again. He talks about vanity of vanities, and he says everything under the sun is vanity. The key word there is under the sun. When you leave God out of your life, when you focus primarily only on material accumulation and material wealth, everybody gets poor. Thank you very much for watching this session today. And the next session, we shall give you other examples on how we can actually move towards enabling an enabling environment where other forms of capital are also managed by today's emerging CEOs. Thank you.